sounds
Welcome
good.
to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm Kevin Henry, and my partner in crime in life is Pommy Henry. I have a rare disease known as spinal cerebellar ataxia, which is a neuromuscular disease. This has left me mobility challenges as well as with a speech impediment and noise-induced anxiety.
Living with these disabilities for over 20 years, we have developed helpful hints and life lessons that we would like to share with you that has made our life easier and possible in some cases. We consider ourselves disability advocates and intend to educate ourselves and you about other disabilities and issues, and also talk about things we find interesting and frequently encounter when we're out and about.
Well, hi, Pommy.
Hi, Kevin. How are you today?
Okay, how are you?
No kidney stones, right?
Nope.
Nope, he's clear of kidney stones. So this is our episode regarding a bunch of different, what do you think they're called? Acts of Congress amendments.
They're actually acts that have been passed into law that Congress has codified, and they assist disabled people. Well, in some cases, more than just disabled people.
So we had talked about the ADA before.
Yeah, these kind of augment specific acts that the ADA is very fuzzy on.
So these are actually laws that are passed. So are these enforceable then?
Yeah, but it's the same as the ADA. It's going to be a civil violation. There's not like any criminal violation there.
Okay. So we talked about the ADA, which is, what does that stand for?
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay. And the next one we'd like to talk about is the ACAA. And what does that stand for? Air Carriers Access Act of 1986. And this was put into law by the 99th United States Congress.
And if you need to have an example of how Congress works, when was it passed into law?
1986.
1989. 3 years after Congress passed it.
Oh, so it didn't take an effect until, okay, I see what you're saying. And what that stands for is, it's a long title, and it's the Act to prohibit commercial airlines from discriminating against passengers with disabilities.
You have to bear in mind that when they wrote the ADA, they probably didn't have a very well-established and regulated airline system like they do now.
Right. The act was passed in response to a narrow interpretation of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 by the United States Supreme Court. The ACAA ensures that passengers with disabilities has access to air travel services without facing discrimination. It has been subject to regulation updates to enforce accessibilities for websites, kiosks, and enhancing the right of the traveler with disabilities. In 2013, the DOT provided new rules requiring all domestic and foreign air carriers to have accessible websites and kiosks for the disabled. And by December 12th of 2015, the core functionality of all air carriers' websites need to be accessible, and by December 12th of 2016, the remaining web pages were required to be accessible. So we have quite a bit of experience ourselves with airline travel.
Yeah, I have a perfect record flying.
They've broken his chair every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's much to be improved, I think.
I've read during this research that every day, like to think it's every day, there's 39 wheelchairs that get destroyed.
Wow, really?
Yeah, across the country.
Wow. So the fact that it happened to us every single time we've traveled, and not only that, we've been had issues with actual travel, being stuck in airports because airplanes couldn't handle the weight of your chair and that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
we were delayed several times because of it.
And one of the things that when we did our talk on the ADA, we mentioned one of the things that may be coming is the cabin system from a company that is owned by Delta Airlines, where they just drop you into a position
Like you do in the car.
like you do in a
Convertible.
car, bus, plus other public transportation. But it did not address how you get down the aisle to there or
To the
how you
bathroom.
get into the hatch.
Yeah. There's quite
Yeah.
a few issues still to work out.
Yeah, that's easy to say, yes, there's a fix coming, but there's more than just that one fix that they need to address.
Yeah. It's always made it
make it
very complicated for us to travel.
Now, I did see one example of a guy who flew exactly on a well-established route with Southwest Airlines. He said he likes Southwest because they have a first-come, first-served seating thing. You don't have assigned seating. And because handicapped people get priority boarding, he gets pretty much always the first seat available in economy. He's a spinal cord injury and from a fall, and he doesn't have any use of his legs at all. So it's pretty important. He has that up and down armrest on the seat, and they have a big wide seat they can transfer into.
Makes it easier for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to worry about
and
going to the
hatch
bathroom.
will accommodate his wheelchair, which is quite customized. It's narrower than the normal wheelchair, so he knows he can fit through the openings in the initial part of the aisle, and he's able to transfer there from there into that front seat.
So a part of this ACAA Act also included service animals. Since this act prohibits airlines from discriminating against passengers with disabilities, they must allow them to bring along their service animals. In the recent years, people have taken advantage of this act, and Delta Airlines released statistics that they had been at an average 84% increase in animal incidences because of people taking advantage of the service animal versus the support animal. Not all disabled animals, not all of the disability animals that come through the door of the Delta airline, however, were actual service animals. Like we said, sometimes they were allowing support animals, emotional support animals. Since December of 2020, the U.S. Department of Transportation does not include emotional support animals in the ACAA Act, which is that allows the service animals to fly in the airplane but they do allow the service animals to fly on the airplane if they meet requirements. Before 2020, they did include emotional support animals as in the definition of service animals. So that change has been most recent. That emotional support animals. I heard one story where somebody brought a rooster on board or something.
Yeah, imagine the chaos. An emotional support animal it's not required to be a dog. So you have like iguanas, you have turtles, you have
Roosters?
rabbits, you have roosters, and those can be legitimate emotional support animals, but they cannot be service dogs. The dead giveaway on initial sight is if it's dog, perhaps it is a service dog, but there's no any other animal that does service that falls into the category of service dogs other than dogs.
Is that a law? Oh, really? I didn't know that. Now, to regulate that, the Secretary of Transportation is directed and to enforce the non-discrimination treatment for people with disabilities. It does, like we said, it does apply to all domestic and foreign airlines operating in the United States. Like we said, the kiosks and the websites are also since 2013 have been had to be accessible.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time talking about the accessibility of kiosks and websites. So I guess that's an important issue because tip number one is usually even after you've gone, for example, like it's very typical today to buy your tickets online versus going to a travel agent.
Like we had in the past, yeah.
Because it's so
Restricting.
easy, really.
Yeah.
You can do it in the middle of the night in your pajamas.
On your phone.
You can do it on your phone a lot of times. What the big thing is, in the past, websites didn't have accessibility features. Features for those that are hard, you have a disability reading, people that had a disability hearing. I mean, it was kind of like Wild West. They might have videos, which are great if you can see and hear, but
yeah,
if you're lacking in one of those departments, it's not going to help you very much.
Yeah. So I think we have seen improvement. I mean, there's much more to happen with the care of the wheelchair and stuff. But
I think a lot of it is just training and overall policy.
Right.
Airlines have to, during the research, a lot of stuff that gets a lot of publicity is basically somebody who relies exclusively on, say, a wheelchair, and said wheelchair is either lost or destroyed. And the question then is, what happens? It's like breaking their legs, if you will.
Right.
They depend on that chair to get them around. In one case, I just watched recently, the guy had a highly customized power chair. It wouldn't have mattered if it was powered or rigid framed. Either way, it would have been destroyed. But they lost it once, and in the end, they destroyed it. But anyway, he had a customized van where he had hand controls. He relied on that wheelchair to fit in that space to drive. So if he didn't have that wheelchair, or
his transportation was gone.
Very similar wheelchair, it kind of ruined his life.
Yeah.
And usually it takes months to get his wheelchair repaired after it's destroyed. Because it is, like I said, rigid frame. And I think it's power assist. But
yeah. Okay, so I think that covers ACAA. If you have any other questions regarding this, please let us know via our website. The next thing we're going to go into is the FHA, which stands for Federal Housing Administration. It plays a significant role in advocating for individuals with disabilities through various programs, regulations. Meet several key ways the FHA supports disability advocacy is reasonable accommodations and modifications. So the FHA provides requires housing providers to make reasonable accommodations and modifications for individuals with disabilities. This includes changes to rules, policy, practices, and services to ensure equal access to housing, which, makes sense.
It does.
I was watching a video of someone in Britain, and he was quadriplegic, had no use of his legs, and he...
Okay, the FHA wouldn't apply there.
I know. But he was saying that...
But Britain has similar laws.
Well, they don't. They're kind of... he couldn't qualify for some reason. He lived in a second-floor apartment, and within the apartment, he also had several sets of stairs. So he had to basically, he said he was being treated like an animal. He couldn't get up and down in his own home. So you see the importance of that right away. This protections under the Fair Housing Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the Americans with Disability Acts. It sets standards. So that would be like usable kitchens, usable bathrooms, accessible routes, basically no stairs if you cannot go up and down stairs, that kind of thing. Also, for the hearing impaired and the blind, adjustments for, being able to answer the door or hearing that there is a person outside your door, that kind of thing.
Now, for what, if you're not familiar with the FHA, I believe they guarantee loans to buy homes. And they also have larger projects like rent-controlled apartment buildings.
Right. It's managed through HUD, HUD. It providing education and reach-out programs for individuals with disabilities to educate them about the housing that providers should provide and about the responsibilities for training, resources, and support for both tenant and landlords. The FHA also is responsible for investigating complaints of discrimination and take enforcement actions against housing providers who violate the disabilities. So there is enforcement there. Any questions on that, Kev?
No.
So the next one we found was called CRIPA. That stands for Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act. Did you know anything about that, Kev?
Never heard of it.
I hadn't either until we started doing this investigating. It's a protection of rights authorizing the United States Attorney General to investigate conditions in institutions like prisons, jails, nursing homes, mental health facilities, and institutions for people with intelligent and developmental disabilities. This is to help ensure that individuals with disabilities in these settings are treated fairly and humanely. So I didn't know that was the organization that was responsible for the rights. My father was in a rehabilitation home, and while they were there were several things that, based on Missouri laws, were kind of strange. He kept falling out of the bed because he had had a stroke and didn't realize where he was and could not use his right side of his body. And we were told by law that there was no restraints allowed, and they considered bed rails restraints. So I was familiar with a little bit of this. The acts are focused on identifying and addressing stigmat issues rather than individual complaints. So in other words, setting up rules for prisons, jails, nursing homes, mental health facilities, that kind of thing. and the DOJ is the person that would enforce these laws.
I wonder, this is ignorance. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but during the COVID pandemic, several states moved COVID patients into institutions.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, does that prohibit that kind of stuff?
Apparently not. I think it's the standards is what we're looking at. I don't know. I assume they were isolated. They were just looking for places to put. I don't know the answer to that. We'd have to investigate that.
You are correct. In some areas, they have more patients than they could accommodate in their hospital system. So they're looking for places. I don't know if they're isolated. I don't know if they're, intermingling with the residents there. I don't know any of the circumstances. We did not do that in Missouri, so
Right.
I'm just going by hearsay.
Yeah, I think the CRIPA is to set up regulations so that is to ensure that individuals with the disabilities is served most efficiently in the settings available to their needs. Do you have any other questions about that?
Nope. That's the only one I had. Or the only one that came to mind.
Okay, the next one that we'd like to talk about is the IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Are you familiar with that at all?
Is that the one that depends on where you live?
No.
Okay. No, I'm not that familiar with that one.
That is basically, you kind of were involved in that kind of through the VA. I don't know if the IDEA was associated with it through the VA or not, but you were offered additional training after you became disabled. You went through some college courses. They wouldn't allow the courses to be credited. It wasn't accredited a course.
No, it didn't pursue a degree.
That's right, yeah.
Because they have separate programs that I was not eligible for that do that sort of thing.
Because you would not ever, your disability wasn't going to go away.
Right, because I'm considered, I think, what they call total and unemployable. IV lingo.
Yeah. So what the IDEA ensures is that all children with disabilities are entitled to a free, appropriate public education tailored to their individual needs. This includes special education and related services designated to meet their initial unique requirements. So I think when I was in college, it was called the special, I don't remember what it was. We did have children. Special ed, yeah. We did have children that went to public school.
And then later they changed it to be the gifted program.
Is that what it is now, probably. It's...
I'm sure it's changed several years in the past. I just don't know what it is now.
Right. Because when they were in special ed, they were, each child had a different learning ability. So they adjusted it based by the person and their disability. So IDEA mandates that children with disabilities should be educated in the least restrictive environment possible. This means they should be included in general education classrooms with their non-disabled peers to the greatest extent available. That's appropriate. See, back then when I was going to school in the 80s, I don't think that was, they've become much more, is the word woke, to the fact that, you shouldn't segregate the children from other children. It also enhances the importance of parental involvement in the education process, and parents have the right to participate in meetings, access educational records, and be involved in the decision making regarding their children's education. The IDEA includes provisions for transit services to help educate children with disabilities move from school to post-school activities, including higher education, employment, independent living, and these services are designed to prepare children for life after school. So I don't think that was done in the 80s. I think they were there was more institutionalized care versus that. IDEA provides protocol safeguards to protect the rights of the children with disabilities and their families. This includes the right to due process hearings, mediations, and the ability to file complaints if they believe their rights have been violated. All right, I think those were the acts that we wanted to talk about. I was not aware of several of them.
No, I wasn't either.
So it was education on our part. Is there any housekeeping that we need to do this time?
Just to remind people that we have an end of season, and I actually have kind of a date for that. What the end of season will be. Contest where you have to support the show, and we're only asking you to do the bare minimum, which I think is
$5.
$5?
Or maybe $3. It might be $3.
Somewhere between $3 and $5.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is there's a link on the website, which is www.whenlifegivesyoulemons.net. And it says support our show from the show notes area, and I'll take you right there.
Yep. So easy enough. We did want to mention that we will be traveling here in a little bit to Nashville to see Kevin's parents again. And so there might be some delay. We're going to try not to have that happen, but there might be a slight delay in the next episode.
We're going to try to record the next episode in advance and then release it on the date it's supposed to be released.
So, yeah. That's our plan.
That's the plan, anyway.
You know, you make plans, and God has His own plan for you. So, all right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll touch back in a little bit.
Talk to you next time, folks.
We are always looking to improve the podcast, so if you want to hear a specific topic, have a differing opinion, want to add something to the conversation, drop us an email. Our contact information is listed on our website. It's www.whenlifegivesyoulemons.net. We have recently added a companion YouTube channel called Making the Lemonade. If you enjoy the podcast, continue your enjoyment by joining us on YouTube.